Chapter 11. Diverting Disaster to the East. I've always been like this. What? You only just realized it. And Rand didn't want to deal with those people anymore. Just as the line reached her, she stepped forward to get water. A pot of water with a medium-low demonic contamination value cost 20 points, and Rand filled 2 pots and headed back. She ran into Zhang Xiaodong and his group again at the stairwell corner. She went upstairs, and those people followed, trailing her all the way to the 4th floor and watching her enter room 59. It was false to say Rand wasn't afraid, but she was completely helpless. She was weak and isolated. Fighting an entire ability user squad alone was impossible. Coincidentally, there was a plague of insects outside now, preventing everyone from leaving, except for fully equipped mercenaries. Thinking of the mercenaries, and Rand's heart stirred. Maybe she should join a mercenary group. Mercenary members were considered semi-official personnel in Azure Sparrow Base and enjoyed certain privileges. But once she joined a mercenary group, the unique nature of her ability would definitely be exposed. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And Rand immediately rejected the idea. Thinking of the experience in her dream, so real, so terrifying now, whenever she closed her eyes, she felt a thin, sharp surgical knife easily slicing through her skin, flesh, and abdomen. That sharp pain and endless despair tortured her soul repeatedly, like a venomous snake. That dream must have been a warning given to her by fate. She had a premonition that if she was even slightly careless, the scene from the dream would come true. Therefore, she absolutely could not expose her abilities before she became strong. While she was pondering, Sankey called, "And Rand, did you get the water back?" "Yes," Rand replied. "Sankey, the camp just sent a notice asking us to take turns going out to eliminate the mutated rats. Did you see it?" And Rand was startled and quickly checked the message on her wristwatch. Sure enough, the guard team of Camp Number 98 had mass messaged everyone in the camp, instructing them to take turns going out to exterminate the rats, or their entry qualifications would be permanently revoked. And Rand immediately messaged Sankey. "I saw it. What are your plans?" "Of course we should go out sooner. My brothers said that the mutant beasts aren't high level right now, and there aren't many of them, so we can still handle it. If the mutant beasts swarm in large numbers, it'll be dangerous." "Sankey, so I wanted to ask you, do you want to team up with us?" And Rand, "Of course. How many people do you have? When are you leaving?" "Sankey, there are 4 of us here, so 5 including you. We're heading out now, is that okay?" "That's fine," Rand said, starting to organize the items in her backpack. She had to bring the mental energy recovery potion, the flamethrower, 2 energy blocks, and some other potions and nutrition bars. The room she rented wasn't safe. All valuables had to be carried with her, or they would be lost without recourse. "Sankey, all right, come down quickly. We're about to leave." "Okay." And Rand put on her backpack, slung the flamethrower over her shoulder, closed the door, and locked it. Carrying a pointed iron rod, she went downstairs and saw Sanchi and sibling already waiting there. "We need to register now, and then we'll head out." Sankey whispered to Rand, "The guard team said we have to stay outside for a full hour. They will only open the gate to let us in when the time is up." And Rand nodded, feeling a little uneasy. But when she turned around, she saw Zhang Xiaodong and his group coming down too. They were also queuing to register, apparently intending to go out. And Rand's face darkened and she became secretly vigilant. Soon after the registration was complete, and Rand and Sankey's group followed several other small teams toward the camp gate. Sankey whispered beside Rand, "Look at all these bugs filling the sky. Thank goodness for the 2 protective suits you gave us, otherwise we wouldn't even be able to leave the gate." And Rand smiled but said nothing. As the camp gate opened, the fully armed guards began shouting loudly, "Hurry up! Get out quickly! Don't let the mutated rats come in!" Everyone dared not hesitate and quickly ran out of the gate. More than 20 teams came out this time, with the size of each team ranging from 5 to 30 people. Of course, the 5-person team was in Rand's group. The remaining teams had at least 10 members. After all the teams rushed out, the camp gate slammed shut. and Rand's heart trembled, and she couldn't help but look back. The 20-meter-high camp wall was covered densely with insects, and the electric grid above the wall kept spitting out crackling sparks. Below the high wall, a half-meter-high pile of insects had accumulated, and strange curved worms crawled out of the pile of corpses. Many black mutated rats were feasting on the piles of insect corpses, and some were even trying to stack themselves up to climb the high wall. And Rand dared not look anymore. She swung the iron spike in her hand and fiercely stabbed a mutated rat that darted close. With a squeak, the mutated rat cried out in pain and flew into a rage, twisting its body to pounce, nearly biting in Rand's calf. And Rand tensed up, narrowly avoiding it with an unexpected angle. A chill ran down her spine. She was extremely grateful that her agility had been raised to 11 points. These mutated rats were unusually troublesome. Their speed was extremely fast, and their attacks were accurate and vicious. If she wasn't careful, she would be bitten. And Rand raised her vigilance to the maximum, staring intently at the mutated rat before her. This creature was over 1 meter long, with a strong, powerful body. Its protruding incisors flashed coldly, seemingly capable of biting through a human leg bone in one snap. It also had sharp front claws, pitch black and incredibly keen. If she were scratched, her flesh would likely be ripped open. Furthermore, their sleek, oily fur was like black armor. Although when Rand's iron spike pierced the skin, it wasn't fatal. "Watch out!" Sanki and her older brother rushed over, protecting Ran on her left and right, raising their machetes to strike the mutated rat. After several squeals of agony, the mutated rat finally died under the combined assault of the 4 people. And Rand dared not relax, because more mutated rats were charging toward them. Thus, the 5-person team stood back to back in a tight formation to prevent sneak attacks from the mutated rats. And Rand simply raised the flamethrower and sprayed streams of fire toward the groups of mutated rats in front of them. There was no other way. Relying solely on the large knives held by Sanki and her group, they couldn't last for an hour. Even if Sanki had great strength, she would eventually become exhausted. As streams of fire shot out, the fur of the clustered mutated rats ignited, and they squealed desperately, scattering in all directions. At this point, it was much easier for Sanki and the others to step forward and finish them off. After forcing back the mutated rats once more, before they even had a chance to catch their breath, a team suddenly rushed toward their location, and trailing behind them were hundreds of dense mutated rats. "Fuck, bastards!" Boss Song couldn't help but curse, quickly signaling his sister and then ran to retreat far away. Unexpectedly, this group continued sprinting toward Ran and her teammates, seemingly trying to divert the disaster to the east. And Ran recognized who these people were instantly. "Zhang Xiaodong, Qian Yifan, you're looking for death." She narrowed her eyes, raised the flamethrower, and sprayed directly at the group. Zhang Xiaodong and his companions were startled and immediately changed direction. They were all ability users who had awakened several years ago. Their speed was extraordinary, and they dodged the flames in a few leaps. "And Ran, what the hell are you doing?" Qian Yifan roared angrily, raising his energy gun and aiming at the girl. And Ran did not dodge. She darted forward like lightning and kicked the energy gun out of Qian Yifan's hand. She then reached out, grabbed his collar, and activated the gathering skill. Ding consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Chapter 12, Shared Prosperity, Shared Loss. Ding consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 50. You gained 2 points of strength. And Ran was startled, then immediately overjoyed. Qian Yifan was also stunned, suddenly feeling his body weaken at that moment. Unfortunately, he couldn't see his body stats, otherwise he would have discovered that his strength attribute had suddenly dropped by 1/4. "Let go!" Qian Yifan roared angrily, grabbing in Ran's arms, trying to break free from her grip. Being held by the collar by a girl made him feel extremely ashamed. but Enran's fingers were like iron pincers. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't get away. At the same time, Enran used the skill again. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 50. You gained 1 point of agility. Enran's lips curled up in delight, and she wanted to use it one more time, but Zhang Xiaodong and the others had already surrounded her and were shooting ice arrows at her. She had no choice but to let go and quickly retreat. Her speed was comparable to that of an agility-type talent user. The ice arrows shot past Qian Yifan, but didn't even graze Enran's clothes. Zhang Xiaodong and his companions were surprised. Without time for a second look, they grabbed Qian Yifan and fled, because countless mutated rats were charging over. If they didn't leave now, they would be swallowed by the rat swarm. Enran also retreated to Sanki and the others, raising the flamethrower to force back the surrounding mutated rats. But these guys didn't go far. Instead, they encircled the 5 people, their crimson eyes filled with bloodthirsty cold light. Retreat toward the high wall. Enran moved toward the high wall while spraying flames. Seeing that the flamethrower's energy was running low, she painfully pulled out an energy block and replaced it. 20 minutes have passed. If we hold on for 40 more minutes, we'll rush toward the main gate. Boss Song wiped the sweat from his forehead, protecting his wife as he retreated. Song Desao nodded, but the hand tightly gripping her broadsword was trembling constantly. The group quickly moved to the side of the high wall. Enran first sprayed a few bursts of flame at the base of the wall, driving away a dozen mutated rats, and also setting the pile of insect corpses on fire. For a moment, a pungent burnt smell assaulted their noses, but the 5 people felt unusually safe. Seeing that the rat swarm temporarily dared not approach, Enran slightly relaxed. During the brief lull, she said to Boss Song, "Give me the machete. You hold the flamethrower for now and cover me while I kill the mutated rats." She was currently penniless. If she didn't get some points to buy energy blocks to refill the flamethrower, she probably wouldn't survive 3 days. The scale of this current mutant beast tide was definitely no less than the disaster 3 years ago. If the camp were breached someday, most ordinary people and low-level ability users would become food for the mutant beasts. This! Boss Song hesitated upon hearing Enran, as the flamethrower was far more important than a machete. Enran snatched the machete from Boss Song's hand and shoved the flamethrower at him, saying, "We can only survive if we kill off this rat swarm. Otherwise, if they keep gathering, we'll be in trouble." She only dared to exchange the flamethrower because she saw the character of the Song siblings, and she believed that, given the current situation, they wouldn't dare let her die. "All right, I'll cover you." Boss Song gripped the flamethrower, his eyes resolute. "You be careful, too. Don't get hurt by the mutated rats." Enran nodded, raising the machete and charging toward the foremost mutated rat. 9 points of strength combined with 12 points of agility made her attack feel like adding wings to a tiger. With one swing of the blade, the mutated rat's skull cracked, and black blood spurted out. The mutated rat squeaked miserably and spun around, eventually collapsing to the ground, its limbs twitching. It clearly wouldn't survive. Sanki, who was following, was stunned. "Enran, you're really strong. Is this the true power of a talent user?" Enran's mouth twitched, and without answering, she raised her blade and slashed at another mutated rat. The slash landed on the mutated rat's neck, cutting deep enough to reveal bone, but the mutated rat didn't die and jumped up to counterattack. Sanki quickly came over to finish it off, and the 2 of them ended the rat with a few more slashes. After killing 2 mutated rats in succession, the rat swarm started to retreat, and fear appeared in their crimson eyes. Coupled with Boss Song occasionally spraying a burst of flame, setting 2 mutated rats alight, the rat swarm actually retreated about 10 meters. "Don't rush, let's take it slowly." Boss Song, worried the 2 girls were being too aggressive, reminded them loudly. "Conserve your stamina first." "Got it." Saki replied, lowering her head to watch Anran use her skill. At this moment, Anran was using her skill on a dead mutated rat. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 20. You obtained a piece of good quality low-level mutated rat meat. Demonic contamination value 38. Consumption increases satiety. Instantly, a large chunk of fresh red mutated rat meat appeared beside Anran, weighing a full 20 caddies. Anran was surprised. She remembered only getting 4 or 5 caddies the last time she gathered mutant beast meat, so why did she get so much this time? Was it an issue of freshness? After all, this one had just been killed, while the previous one had been dead for who knows how long. Saki and the others were even more astonished, their faces showing disbelief. Wow! Is this your ability? Anran, you are amazing! In her shock, Saki also extended a wristwatch to test the demonic contamination value, and the resulting displayed number was 38. Testing the considerably shrunken mutated rat corpse again, the demonic contamination value was actually over 400. Holy cow! Is this the miraculous aspect of the gathering skill? It's too practical. Saki looked at Anran with pure adoration. Anran handed the fresh meat to Saki. Put it away for now and take it with us when we return to the camp. Saki finally closed her wide-open mouth and quickly stuffed the fresh meat into her big brother's backpack, letting Song Dasao, who had the weakest fighting strength, guard it. The scavengers' large backpacks are woven from special mutated plant fibers. They are not only strong and durable but can also seal off odors, so they weren't worried that the fresh meat would attract more mutant beasts. Afterward, Anran gathered from the other mutated rat as well, obtaining 20 caddies of fresh meat again. At this, Saki and the others immediately cheered up, no longer showing any signs of listlessness or fear. The group's gaze toward the rat swarm was no longer fearful but like seeing piles of fresh, tender mutant beast meat. Thus, Anran, Saki, and Yu Gang attacked the mutated rats. Boss Song stood by with the flamethrower providing support, and Song Dasao squatted by the base of the wall behind them, guarding the large backpack. The 5 people performed their respective duties and killed several mutated rats in succession. During this time, Saki also quietly dragged over mutated rats killed by other small teams, piling them together at the base of the wall for Anran to gather from. Seeing that time was almost up, the group stopped killing mutated rats and retreated to the base of the wall to watch Anran use her skill. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 20. You obtained a piece of good quality low-level mutated rat meat. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 20. You obtained a Tier 2 mutated crystal core. Absorption increases 1 point of constitution. Anran was pleasantly surprised and quietly slipped the soybean-sized crystal core from her palm into her pocket. She wouldn't share this item with anyone. Saki and the others exchanged glances. Although they all saw Anran gather something, they couldn't clearly see what it was. Luckily, they were all sensible people with decent hearts. They knew this was Anran's own capability, something they couldn't envy, and they certainly didn't dare harbor any ill intentions. In this cannibalistic wasteland world, being able to team up with Anran, a talent user, was an honor and the foundation of their survival. As the saying goes, shared prosperity, shared loss. Being in a team means supporting each other, not plotting against one another. Saki blinked her eyes and urged, Anran, hurry up, gather all of these. The camp gate will open soon. Chapter 13, Pure Mutated Rat Meat. Boss Song and Yu Gang also said, You just use your ability, we'll help you block the view. With that, they stood with their backs to Anran, helping her shield herself from the gazes cast from not far away. At this moment, many teams were gathering at the main entrance, and a few teams would inevitably pass by Anran's 5-person squad. However, they just took a look and left, not surprised to see Anran crouching by the pile of mutated rat corpses. After all, they had all done this before. After killing a mutated rat, they would also use their wristwatch to test it. If they tested a low to medium value, it was considered a small fortune. In fact, Ran was quite nervous at the moment, worried that exposing her ability would make the others covet it. But then again, if she kept hiding, she would miss many opportunities, as she currently didn't have the ability to go out and kill monsters alone. Moreover, collecting one mutated rat would give her 20 experience points, which was very beneficial for her skill upgrade and a rare opportunity. So Ran decided to go all out and trust Sankey and the others this time. Soon Ran collected from all 10 or so mutated rats, obtaining another level 2 energy crystal core and 9 large pieces, 20 caddies, of mutated rat meat. She tucked the 2 energy crystal cores into her pocket, while the 11 pieces of mutated rat meat were distributed among several people's backpacks. The camp gate opened on time, and the outgoing squads swarmed in. 2 squads were also carrying a mutated rat carcass, weighing over 100 caddies each. Their joyful expressions clearly indicated that these were mutated rats with low demonic contamination value. The other squads were a bit miserable, with many members injured, and one team even had 2 fatalities. And Ran saw that Zhang Xiaodong's squad had also returned. 3 of the 10-person team were injured. The most severely injured seemed to be Chan Yifan. One of his legs hung limp and bloody, and he was carried into the camp by a team member. And Ran glanced at him, and then turned her head, leading Sankey and the others to the exchange window. 220 caddies of fresh meat couldn't all be kept for eating. 200 caddies had to be sold to exchange for life-saving supplies. But before selling, she had to ask Sankey and the others for their opinion. Since they formed a team, she couldn't take all the gains for herself. "How do you plan to deal with this meat?" Ran asked. Sankey was startled, scratched his head, and said, "This was all collected by your ability, so it's up to you. I'll listen to whatever you say." Boss Song echoed, "You can handle it however you want. We have no objections." Yu Gang, "I agree with them." "All right then, we'll keep 1 piece of fresh meat for ourselves and sell the rest to the camp," Ran said. "I have no objections." "Me neither. We'll listen to you." The few of them all looked eagerly at Ran, as if saying, "Do whatever you want." So, Ran took Sankey to Shaoli's exchange window and first asked for the price. How much per caddy for mutated rat meat, with a demonic contamination value of over 30? Shaoli blinked and asked, "Is it a whole rat or just the meat?" "Pure meat, all fresh, no parasites," Ran said. "Many mutated rats have terrifying parasites in their bodies that even boiling water at 100 degrees cannot kill, so the price is definitely not as high as mutated rabbits or mutated sheep, which have relatively fewer parasites." Shaoli's eyes were full of disbelief. Mutated rat meat without parasites? How is that possible? "You can test it yourself," Sankey said, a little displeased. He pulled out a large piece of fresh meat from his backpack and proudly tossed it in front of Shaoli. He didn't hesitate. Indeed, sliced the rat meat into several pieces and threw them one by one into the machine next to him for testing. After a while, the machine spit out a detection report, concluding that it was fresh and pure, with no parasites or eggs. Shaoli's eyes widened, somewhat incredulous, but the report stated it clearly, and he had to believe it, even if he didn't want to. However, he didn't dare to easily decide on the price for this kind of meat, fearing that he would be held responsible if he made a mistake. In the end, he had to go find the junior leader again to let him decide. And Ran wasn't in a hurry and chatted with Sankey at the exchange window. "If this meat is reasonably priced, we'll go out tomorrow and collect more mutated rats." Her main goal was still to level up her ability. She was still over 600 points short of 5,000 experience, and this mutated rat tide was a rare opportunity. Collecting 1 mutated rat gave 20 experience points. With just 35 more mutated rats, her skill could be upgraded. Just thinking about it made her excited. Sankey nodded. "That's what I think too. Currently there should be several thousand people in the camp, Several hundred people are arranged to go out and clear mutated rats every hour, working 24/7. None of these thousands of people can expect to be idle. So it was inevitable that it would be their turn tomorrow. And Ran, if possible, I'd like to rent a car. We could save some effort. Having a car would not only save effort but also be safer, allowing her to use her skills with confidence. Sankey agreed. We can go to the parking lot later to see if there are any idle vehicles, then we can contact the owner. Okay. As the two were talking, Xiao Li came over from the exchange window, leading the junior leader. The junior leader was still the same junior leader. When he saw and Ran, his eyes lit up. Oh, it's you. What good stuff did you get today? And Ran pointed to the mutated rat meat in front of her. The good stuff is right here. Give me a price. The junior leader sat down and had Xiao Li slice the meat into several pieces, placing them into the detection container again. Soon the junior leader held a new report and raised an eyebrow. It really is very pure. Putting down the report, the junior leader leaned forward and smiled at Enran. How much of this meat do you have? Enran, 200 caddies. 200 caddies, huh? The junior leader stroked his chin and thought for a moment, then said, Then I'll give you 50 points per caddy. You know the situation now. There are mutated rats everywhere outside, and there will definitely be many people coming to exchange later. Stop! And Ran stood up and reached for the meat slices. Since it's causing you trouble, I won't exchange it. I'll sell it to the mercenaries later. They definitely won't refuse pure mutated rat meat. Everyone knew that after mercenaries and talent users returned from missions, they had to supplement with high-quality protein. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to recover their physical strength quickly. Selling her pure mutated rat meat to them for 100 points per caddy, they would probably accept it. After all, a plate of braised pork in the small cafeteria had only 10 small pieces, weighing less than a caddy in total, and cost over 200 points, which was simply outrageous. The junior leader quickly stopped in Ran's hand and said helplessly, All right. I misspoke. I'll give you 80 points per caddy at most, no more. If you don't accept it, then take it and sell it to the mercenaries. Upon hearing this, Ran slowly sat down and motioned for Sankey to take out all the meat. Since the leader is sincere, I am also sincere. All 200 caddies are here. Chapter 14. The Origin of the Stellar Calendar Year. 200 jin of pure mutated rat meat sold for 16,000 points. And Ran then exchanged for 2 beginner energy stones and a refined steel machete, spending a total of 8,000 points. Of course, the points for the machete were advanced and would not be counted in the team's income, and Ran would pay for it herself. As for the 2 energy blocks, those definitely had to be counted as team expenses. Of the remaining 9,000 points, Ran kept 5,000 for herself, and the other 4,000 were divided equally among them. Sankey and the sibling couple had no objections, and Yu Gang was overjoyed. They knew that sometimes they would work for a week and still not get so many points. Now, after just an hour outside, each of them received 1,000 points. It was like a huge pie falling from the sky. If there weren't a lack of extra protective suits, he would have wanted his wife to go out of the camp for missions too. And Ran, when are we going out again? Sankey was excited and a little impatient, wishing he could immediately go out and hunt mutant beasts. And Ran glanced at the sky. It's almost dark. Let's eat and sleep first, and talk about it tomorrow morning. Sankey nodded, smiling as he leaned closer to Ran and said, Let's eat mutated rat meat tonight. Sister-in-law Yu's cooking is excellent. You'll know once you taste it. And Ran's eyes lit up with anticipation upon hearing this. To be honest, she had always been fond of the braised pork at the camp's small cafeteria. If it weren't for it being uneconomical, she would have wanted to eat it every day. Now that she could get mutated rat meat without parasites or viruses, who would still go to the small cafeteria to eat that stuff? If sister-in-law Yu's cooking was really good, then she would be in for a treat. While she was thinking, the group returned to Earth Building number 7. Sister-in-law Yu was standing at the entrance, anxiously looking out. When she saw them return, her eyes lit up. "Are you hurt?" She first pulled her husband around, and seeing that his protective suit was intact, the heavy stone in her heart finally dropped. Then she went to check Song Dasao and Sanki. Sanki laughed. "We're fine, thanks to Enran's flamethrower. Otherwise we really wouldn't have made it through." "Yes, indeed," Song Dasao echoed. Sister-in-law Yu was about to say something else when Yu Gang interrupted her. "You hurry up and make dinner. We're all hungry." Sanki pulled out a large piece of mutated rat meat from his backpack and handed it to sister-in-law Yu. "There's meat today, sister-in-law. Please bear the trouble and cook it all. Let's have a good meal." "Oh, so much." Sister-in-law Yu's eyes widened as she held the meat. "Cook it all. Can we finish it?" Yu Gang pushed his wife into the house. "Hurry up, and while you're at it, knead some dough to make some flatbreads." Sister-in-law Yu was involuntarily pushed into the house by her husband, but she wasn't angry. She quickly took out pots and pans and started to get busy. Seeing this, Song Dasao also went to help, even taking out her treasured bran-containing wheat flour, preparing to knead dough and bake flatbreads. Enran glanced at Sanki's living quarters. It was slightly larger than her own, barely partitioned into 2 small rooms. She wondered where Sanki slept at night, but she had no intention of inviting Sanki to live with her. Although they were teammates, it was better to maintain some personal space. Enran said goodbye and went back. Sanki saw her off to the staircase and said, "I'll call you when the food is ready." Enran acknowledged him and went up to the 4th floor. She didn't encounter Zhang Xiaodong and the others on the way, likely because they had gone to the infirmary, as several of their team members were injured. Back in her room, she closed the door. Enran took out 2 crystal cores and began to absorb them. As expected, her attribute panel showed an increase of 1 point in physique and 1 point in agility. Now her physique was 13, and her agility also reached 13, which made her vision exceptionally clear, even allowing her to see the trajectory of a mutated fly's rapid flight. Enran secretly rejoiced, wondering what kind of mutation her abilities would undergo if all her attributes broke through 20. Would she be comparable to those high-tier talent users? As far as she knew, some high-tier ability users could fly and burrow into the ground. Azure Sparrow Base had a few, but she had never seen them herself. After taking off her protective suit, the clothes underneath were soaked with sweat, so Enran could only change into a different inner garment. Washing clothes and showering were impossible. Currently, the camp had closed public bathhouses and restricted water usage to cope with the upcoming beast tide. After drinking a glass of water, Enran lay down, opened her wristwatch, and searched for local news. She then discovered that over a dozen camps around Azure Sparrow Base were suffering from insect plagues and beast tides. Countless flying insects covered the sky, devouring all mutated plants and mutant beasts they encountered. Many mutant beasts, unable to bear the disturbance, fled the dark forest and attacked human camps along the way. From the drone footage, these giant beasts were not low-level. Some were 7 or 8 meters tall. Several small camps crumbled like tofu under the impact of these behemoths. The tragic scenes in the video were horrifying. Many humans, unable to escape, died under the hooves and claws of the giant beasts, like ants. Enran's scalp tingled, and her heart tightened. She then scrolled through news from the base. The outer city's sky also had a large number of flying insects, and mutated rats were found in the city's sewers. But the situation was not severe. The inner city's situation was slightly better than the outer city's. The insect plague was not serious. Moreover, the officials had organized manpower to exterminate the insects, each person with a flamethrower, and the insects were quickly mostly eliminated. There was also a guard team stationed at the base's farmlands, and everything was so orderly. But Enran always felt that things wouldn't be that simple. With such a large-scale insect plague and beast tide, Could the base really remain safe and sound? Speaking of which, no one knew where those mutated flying insects came from. They seemed to be born from the black mist, and every year in July and August, they would arrive with the haze. However, at that time, the scale was small and did not affect the base. When the cold wave arrived in September, the sub-zero temperatures of 30 to 40 degrees Celsius would freeze the flying insects to death. But this year seemed a bit unusual. It was only early August, and mutated flying insects had already appeared in large numbers, stirring up a large-scale mutant beast tide. As for the origin of mutant beasts and mutated plants, Rand had learned from history books that it was 100 years ago, before the stellar calendar year of this planet. Black mist continuously drifted from the abyss of the universe, enveloping this living planet. Thus the sky turned grayish-black, and thick black mist rolled throughout the entire planet. Within this black mist, animals, plants, microorganisms, and marine life mutated wildly, eventually becoming unrecognizable alien species. What followed were decades of freezing temperatures, during which fragile humans and various creatures died one after another. Fortunately, 40 years ago, the black mist in the sky gradually dissipated, or rather, melted into the land and oceans, and warm sunlight once again shone upon the earth. The planet's ice and snow melted, and various new life forms grew and reproduced wildly. That terrifying black mist seemed to become the nutrient that catalyzed them. The few remaining human activity areas gradually shrank, and survival became extremely difficult, and that black mist was later called demonic mist. Humans who ate food contaminated by the demonic mist would suffer from widespread ulceration in mild cases, and in severe cases, deformity or death. In contrast, the animals on the planet were much luckier than humans. Their physiques were robust, their reproductive capabilities strong, and after their genes were iterated and evolved, they eventually adapted to the new environment. Plants, needless to say, could survive in even the harshest environments as long as there was water, sunlight, and oxygen. Coupled with the demonic mist mutating their genes, plants adapted to the current situation more easily than animals, even living more freely. The most unfortunate were the fragile humans. Their reproductive capabilities were once severely weakened, only recovering slightly after many years. This also led to a yearly decrease in the human population. According to incomplete statistics, the current global population is less than 200 million. For Azure Sparrow Base, although it has over 300,000 people, there are no human living areas within several hundred miles around it. Rand closed her wristwatch and closed her eyes, feigning sleep. In a daze, she heard someone knocking on the door. Chapter 15, Terror Strikes. Rand, time to eat. It was Sankey's voice. Rand acknowledged him, got up, and opened the door. The two walked together to the rented room on the second floor and saw a wooden basin overturned on the floor. At the bottom of the wooden basin was a pot of fragrant braised pork, and next to it was a stack of yellowish-brown whole wheat flatbreads. Don't underestimate this stack of whole wheat flatbreads. They were very valuable, comparable to mutant beast meat. Because the limited farmland in the base produced a finite amount of grain, especially rice and wheat, after supplying a portion to the base high-level personnel, the remainder was distributed to various mercenary groups and ability users. If ordinary people wanted a bite, they had to pay a steep price. Rand estimated that Boss Song and the others had used all the wheat flour to make this stack of flatbreads. Quickly, sit down and eat. Boss Song greeted Rand and handed her a pair of chopsticks and a bowl. So the few people sat in a circle and began to eat. Everyone started reservedly, but eventually they ate faster and faster. Sankey, afraid Rand would be too reserved to compete with everyone else, first scooped a full bowl for her. This wasn't a small bowl. It was a large sea bowl used for serving dishes, enough to fill Rand up. Rand didn't stand on ceremony either. She picked up the bowl and started eating. A piece of braised pork went into her mouth. The meat was fragrant, sticky, and tender, with a rich flavor that was intoxicating. The flatbread was also excellent. Dipped in the rich meat broth, it was wonderfully chewy with every bite, carrying the unique fragrance of wheat flour. This skill truly matched the chef at the small cafeteria. As the 6 people were heartily enjoying their meal, the door suddenly rattled from a loud knock. "Hey, come out quickly! Mutated rats have run into the yard. Everyone hurry out to exterminate them." When the few people heard this, their eyes lit up and they simultaneously looked at Anran. Anran swallowed the last piece of braised pork, wiped her mouth, and stood up. "I'll go back for my gear." At a time like this, there was no way to hide. Everyone had to go all out. The images on the wristwatch screen reminded her repeatedly to always be ready to flee for her life. Because right behind these mutated rats were countless gigantic mutant beasts, and no one could guarantee they wouldn't knock down the courtyard wall and charge into the camp. "Okay, go ahead. We'll wait for you." Sankey was extremely excited and quickly pulled out his protective suit and put it on. Anran nodded, quickly returned to her room, put on the protective suit, donned her helmet, pulled down the face shield, and packed all her belongings into her backpack. She had to be ready to run at any moment. Traveling at night was indeed dangerous, but if the camp was breached by mutant beasts, not running meant waiting for death. Closing the door and going downstairs, Anran reached the ground floor. Saki and the others were also fully dressed and eagerly waiting for her. "Let's go. Time to exterminate the rats." Anran was the first to walk out of the earthen building, carrying her newly bought machete. The flamethrower was slung over her shoulder, ready to be used when necessary. Sankey followed closely behind her, looking around as he walked. They saw that there were already many people in the camp courtyard, all nervously asking each other, "What's going on? Why are we being told to come out and exterminate rats in the middle of the night? Exactly. Did mutated rats burrow into the camp? Why haven't I seen any? Shh, don't talk. Listen to what the mercenaries over there are saying." Everyone rushed over toward the mercenaries, and ran, and Sankey squeezed through as well, and saw a person wearing a camouflage protective suit standing on the roof of an off-road vehicle, shouting loudly, "Everyone listen up. The drone just sent back news that a large number of mutant beasts are heading toward the camp. Quickly pick up your weapons and join us in meeting the attack." When the crowd heard this, they were terrified. "What? A large number of mutant beasts are coming? Will Camp Number 98 be destroyed like Camp Number 53? Everyone had seen the news online. Those images were shocking. Previously, they might have held onto hope, thinking that only small camps couldn't withstand mutant beast attacks, and Camp Number 98 was one of the few large camps, with tens of thousands of people gathered there, so it wouldn't be easily destroyed. Now it seemed that kind of hope was self-deception. They could also be trampled into meat paste by gigantic mutant beasts. "Stop arguing. I'm laying down the law right now. If anyone hides inside the camp and refuses to leave, the Guard Corps has the right to enforce mandatory orders, and anyone who resists will be shot." The person in the camouflage protective suit spoke strictly and without question. "The camp gate will open immediately, and all teams must go out. Don't panic or rush. Everyone form a firing line and fight the mutant beast swarm together." Next, let me talk about the strategy. Every 30 teams will form a firewall. If a gap appears, the following team must fill it. Anyone who deserts during battle will be shot immediately. After the person in the camouflage protective suit finished threatening them, another person in a camouflage protective suit jumped onto the roof and spoke, his tone much softer. "Fellow citizens, we have reached a critical moment of life and death. Only by uniting our strength do we have a chance to survive. Therefore, we must go all out to safely overcome this crisis. As long as every one of us can kill one mutant beast, 10,000 people can eliminate 10,000 of them. So, don't panic, and don't be pessimistic. Victory is in your hands." That's right. Victory is in our hands. Many people echoed in the darkness, cheering loudly, "Kill the mutant beasts! Victory is within reach. After this round of indoctrination, the fear in the crowd's hearts indeed lessened, and many began calling their teammates and heading toward the main gate. And Ran and the others were in the middle of the line, swept forward by the crowd, finding it difficult even to step back slightly. Sankey tightly gripped the shoulder strap of Ran's backpack, afraid of being separated. Boss Song and his wife, and Yu Gang and his wife, also held onto each other. The 6 people quickly reached the main camp gate. The gate was already open, and the 6-meter-wide passage was packed with people. Once outside the gate, mercenaries were dispersing the formations and directing the teams to line up. And Ran glanced at the mercenaries' off-road vehicles and armored vehicles, feeling incredibly envious. But such modified, heavy-duty off-road vehicles would cost no less than 1 million points. Even a small pickup truck would cost over 500,000. Sigh, she was still too poor. Just then, with a few whistling sounds, several flares were launched from the high wall, flying hundreds of meters away and illuminating a large area. Everyone widened their eyes in horror. Holy crap, it's all mutant beasts! Oh my God, we're finished! And Ran saw it too. The distance was densely packed with mutant beasts of all types. What was even more terrifying was that not only were there mutant beasts far away, but the ground less than 3 meters in front of her was covered in dense, crawling insects. These crawling insects, ranging from 30 centimeters to about 1 meter in length, included some resembling millipedes, some centipedes, and others like leeches or ground beetles, forming a black mass. The insects made a faint rustling sound as they crawled across the ground, like fine rain falling. They crawled very quickly and were upon them in the blink of an eye. The crowd screamed in fear, aiming their flamethrowers directly at the ground and spraying, forcing back some of the crawling insects. And Ran also raised her flamethrower and sprayed, clearing a small safe zone. But these crawling insects were too troublesome. The flames couldn't ignite all of them. Consequently, the 6 people started frantically killing the insects. Stomping, chopping, swatting, smashing. They used every trick they had, yet they could only kill a small fraction. Fortunately, people nearby were also using flamethrowers, repelling a swarm of crawling insects occasionally. And Ran put away her flamethrower, took a moment to spray herself entirely with insect repellent, and took out her fine steel shovel, slamming it down hard. It must be said, this thing was handier for swatting insects than the machete. With her 9 points of strength, she hit true every time. Although it didn't guarantee an instant kill, it incapacitated the insects. While killing insects, and Ran secretly used her ability. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Collection successful. Experience points +5. You have obtained. Chapter 16. Gathering Attributes. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Gathering successful. Experience +5. You have obtained a poison sac, containing 40 grams of venom, capable of paralyzing mutated creatures below level 3 for 10 minutes. And Ran was stunned, and quickly checked the object in her hand. It was a soft, pitch-black spherical object, the size of a ping-pong ball, resembling a bird's crop. Could such a small amount of venom really paralyze a level 3 mutated creature? And Ran was slightly skeptical. She looked around and saw everyone was busy fighting the insects, so she decided not to test it out right now. Putting away the poison sac, and Ran continued swatting insects while simultaneously using her gathering skill. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Gathering successful. Experience +5. You have obtained a piece of primary mutated insect meat, demonic contamination value 23, which can increase satiety. A tender white strip of meat suddenly appeared in Ran's hand. It was the thickness of a thumb and the length of 2 chopsticks, soft and sticky, disgusting like thick snot. She tossed it away in disgust and continued gathering. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Gathering successful. Experience +10. You have obtained a level 2 mutated insect energy crystal core. Absorbing it grants 0.5% free attribute points. She didn't expect insects could also drop crystal cores. and Ran discreetly absorbed the soybean-sized crystal core in her palm. The 0.5 free attribute point was immediately added to her strength. Immediately, a faint warm current flowed through her body, and the soreness in her arms eased. And Ran was delighted, but maintained a calm expression while continuing to kill insects and gather. After using the skill 14 times in a row, she quickly took out a bottle of primary mental strength recovery potion and drank it. However, the potion only replenished 10 points of her spirit. It seemed primary potions could only restore this much, and Ran didn't pay much attention, quietly tallying her skill gains. She had used the skill 14 times, gaining 80 experience points, 2.5 free attribute points, 10 strips of meat, and 2 poison sacks. She had thrown away all the strips of meat, added the free attribute points to strength, and stored the 2 poison sacks in a small pocket in her backpack. Now that her strength had reached 10 points, 1 scoop of her shovel was enough to smash an insect. Only 2 minutes had passed, yet the battle on the scene had intensified, and mutant beasts were already charging over. Although hundreds of mercenaries were holding the front line with thermal weapons, many stragglers still managed to charge toward the scavenger squads. Screams rang out incessantly. Many scavenger squad members lost their lives because of this, and Ran's side also encountered 2 mutant beasts. They were nearly 3 meters long, swift as black leopards, and reached them in a few leaps. "Ah!" Several screams followed as 2 scavenger squad members were tackled to the ground, their bodies instantly torn apart by the mutant beast's sharp claws. Everyone cried out in terror, scrambling to escape. "This is bad! Retreat quickly!" Sankey suddenly saw a mutant beast lunging at them, and hurriedly signaled the people around him to dodge. But the surroundings were filled with panicked people, making it impossible to dodge in time. In an instant, the mutant beast had pounced, hooking its claw onto sister-in-law Yu, who was a beat too slow to react. Yu Gang's eyes were bloodshot. He grabbed his wife and sped backward. His speed ability was maximized at that moment, barely managing to drag his wife back from the beast's claws. However, a long gash was torn across half of the woman's arm by the sharp claws, and blood sprayed out. "Hurry back to the camp!" and Ran shouted, throwing the poison sack in her hand, which accurately hit the gaping maw of the mutant beast. The poison sack burst open in the beast's mouth. The lunging mutant beast instantly froze, but due to inertia, its body slammed straight into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Everyone who witnessed this was stunned. Then they watched the slender girl rush over to the mutant beast and reach out to touch its head. She touched it again and again, 3 times in total. The mutant beast's rigid body suddenly went limp, as if its life force had been drained away. The other mutant beast was collectively hacked down by another squad. "Is it dead?" Sankey cautiously stepped forward to look. "Huh? It seems to still have a breath." "It's not dead yet," Ran said, pulling Sankey aside. Just now she had gathered 2 points of agility, 2 points of strength, and a level 3 energy crystal core from this mutant beast. Clenching the level 3 energy crystal core in her hand, she secretly absorbed it, and surprisingly, her constitution also increased by 2 points. Her current panel information is as follows. Name, Ran. Age 18, race human. Constitution 15. Your constitution is now capable of resisting common illnesses. Agility 15. Your agility surpasses most humans, nearly matching a primary agility talent user. Strength 12. Spirit 8/15. Skill, primary gathering technique LV1. Experience 4,512 5,000ths. Ran took the flamethrower off her shoulder and handed it to Sankey. "Take this and protect your brother and sister-in-law." Yu Gang had already carried his wife back to the camp. The mercenaries guarding the gate didn't stop him, and even pointed him toward the infirmary. "What about you?" Sankey looked at Ran with worry. Ran smiled. "I can protect myself, don't worry." Her speed now rivaled that of an agility talent user. As long as she didn't run into the mutant beasts' mouths or claws, she shouldn't be easily injured. Then be careful. Sankey took the flamethrower and hung it over his shoulder. This thing consumed energy stones quickly and had to be saved for critical moments. And Ran nodded, turned, and sprinted into the distance. To gain more attributes, she had to take the initiative. Just now, she seemed to have grasped some rules regarding her ability. For example, gathering from a dead mutant beast almost always yielded a piece of edible, pure fresh meat. Gathering from a living creature, however, might yield their attributes. If she continuously gathered from a single mutant beast, she could also obtain an energy crystal core. Once those mutant beasts lost their crystal cores, their physical functions would rapidly decline. This truly was a unique secret technique for indirectly killing mutant beasts. Therefore, she needed to seize this opportunity to gather from as many mutant beasts as possible. After all, using the skill only took 1 or 2 seconds. As long as she touched the mutant beast, the gathering would succeed. In a moment, and Ran had rushed near a mutated wild boar. Several talent users were attacking the behemoth. A soil talent user stomped their foot, and dozens of earthen spikes shot up from the ground, instantly trapping the mutated wild boar. The others opened fire on the boar, and a metal talent user even used their ability to materialize a sharp spear and jab it fiercely in the eye. One of the boar's eyes was jabbed, blood splattered, and it let out a howl of pain. It leaped, broke through the earthen spikes, and its massive body, like a small mountain, charged toward the metal ability user. The metal ability user didn't have time to dodge and could only transform part of their body into metal to withstand the blow. As a result, the metal ability user was directly sent flying by the 1.7-meter-tall mutated wild boar, crashing heavily into a small squad and knocking one of its members unconscious. And Ran seized the opportunity, leaped over, placed her hand on the boar's rear, and used the gathering skill. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Gathering successful. Experience plus 50. You have gained 2 points of constitution. The boar suddenly shuddered, whipped around, and looked at and ran. One eye was bleeding, and the other was filled with shock and fury. Oink! It roared toward the sky, the bristles on its body standing on end, and it pivoted to charge toward this hateful ant. Chapter 17, Abnormal Beast, Spiritual Attack. And Ran was startled by the mutated wild boar's actions. Seeing it charge madly, she quickly took off running. So everyone saw a slender girl sprinting incredibly fast, with a huge mutated wild boar hot on her heels. But no matter where the girl ran, the wild boar ignored everything else, determined to chase her relentlessly, even knocking away several mutant beasts along the way. For a moment, many mutant beasts scattered or stopped in their tracks, giving the human team a moment to breathe. The most miserable was Ran. She didn't dare to run towards crowded areas, fearing she would implicate the innocent. But she also couldn't charge into the mutant beast horde. That would be no different from seeking death. So she could only sprint along the empty space in front of the formation where the human team and the mutant beasts had not yet made contact. But even so, she still couldn't shake off that mutated wild boar. As the distance between them grew shorter, and Ran realized that her 15 points of agility were simply not enough. Fortunately, as she fled, someone kept shooting at the wild boar with a gun, otherwise she would have been caught long ago. But even after being hit by more than a dozen bullets, the mutated wild boar still didn't give up. Its charging speed increased rather than decreased. Finally, Ran had no choice but to rush towards 2 armored vehicles, circling them with the wild boar. 2 snipers lay on top of the armored vehicles, continuously firing at the wild boar. After an unknown number of hits, the wild boar's speed finally slowed down. It swayed for a while, then its front legs buckled, and it plopped onto the ground. At this moment, its mouth was foaming with blood, and while panting heavily, it stared fixedly at Ran with bloodthirsty eyes. Ran was also exhausted. She leaned against another armored vehicle to rest briefly, vigilantly watching the wild boar, afraid it would suddenly get up and jump again. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" A sniper on the armored vehicle poked his head out and said with dissatisfaction, "How did you provoke this thing?" This creature was the most vengeful. Even their mercenary team didn't dare to easily provoke it. But she, on the other hand, was running around with a third-level mutated wild boar, causing several dents in their vehicle. And Rand said innocently, "I don't know either." "Sniper, forget it. You should leave quickly, don't stay here and get in the way." The man waved his hand impatiently, motioning for her to leave. And Rand responded and had no choice but to depart. Before leaving, she glanced at the wild boar, feeling quite regretful. This was a third-level mutated beast. Collecting from it multiple times would surely yield many attributes. Unfortunately, there were 2 snipers crouching nearby, so she couldn't just go up and touch the beast in front of them. That would be hard to explain. And Rand looked around. The mutant beasts that had been scattered by the mutated wild boar's charge were starting to stir again, tentatively attacking the human team. This time, she didn't dare to rush forward recklessly, afraid of provoking another one that would relentlessly pursue her. However, the mutated wild boar's intense reaction also reminded her that before collecting, she must first cripple them, preferably making them lose their ability to move. And Rand quickly hurried back to Sankey and the others. At this moment, the bugs on the ground had been mostly cleared by thousands of people, and those not killed had gradually crawled elsewhere. Currently, the most dangerous threats were the eager mutant beasts. "And Rand, how are you? Are you injured?" Sankey had also seen the scene of the mutated wild boar chasing Anran, but at the time he couldn't help at all, feeling a pang of guilt. "No." Anran adjusted the backpack on her shoulder, feeling it was a bit cumbersome. If only she had a legendary Qiankun bag, she wouldn't have to carry such a large backpack all day, which was not only heavy, but also affected her speed. "It's good that you're fine." Sankey breathed a sigh of relief and whispered, "Another person died over there just now. I saw it with my own eyes. It was a talent user from a team we know." And Rand was startled. "A team we know? Who?" "It's the team we had a conflict with during the day," Sankey said with a horrified expression. "I saw a man push a woman to be a shield, and as a result, the woman was torn apart by a mutant beast." And Rand frowned and subconsciously looked in the direction Sankey indicated, indeed seeing a few familiar figures. There was Zhang Xiaodong, Zhang Xiaoxiao, and another boy. She didn't know who pushed whom, or who became the scapegoat. Turning her gaze back, she chopped 2 mutated bugs at her feet with her knife. And Rand whispered, "Don't mind them. Let's stick closer together and not let anyone exploit any openings." At such a life-and-death moment, human hearts were most vulnerable to testing. Even she herself couldn't guarantee having a conscience in the face of mortal danger. Sankey nodded, holding his flamethrower and vigilantly looking around. Just then, another group of mutant beasts broke through the mercenaries' line of fire and charged towards the human wall formed by the human teams. In an instant, flames erupted everywhere, and various skills flew wildly. Earth spikes, earth walls, large rocks, as well as wind, lightning, fire, ice, water, and vines released by plant-type talent users, formed dazzling scenes. There was even one who transformed into a stone giant, smashing a mutant beast's head with a single punch. His strength was terrifying, and Rand watched with envy, wishing she also had such a powerful body. But the reality was, she could only stealthily touch the mutant beast's behinds. Just then, 2 abnormal beasts over a meter tall charged in front of her. And Rand didn't hesitate, using all her strength to cut down one abnormal beast. Ignoring the need to use skills, she strode towards the other abnormal beast to prevent it from attacking Boss Song and his wife. Both of them were ordinary people who hadn't awakened and couldn't deal with second- or third-level mutated beasts at all. Moreover, this was a disgusting abnormal beast, its head covered with half-meter-long black tentacles, like swaying sea snakes, and it even made hissing sounds. And Rand felt dizzy just from a glance. Boss Song and his wife reacted even more strongly. They clutched their heads in pain and fell to the ground with a thud, their faces as pale as paper. Even Sankey was stunned, his eyes vacant. And Rand felt something was wrong. She slashed the abnormal beast's head with her knife, but only managed to cut off a few tentacles. The abnormal beast suddenly let out a sharp cry that seemed to strike directly at the soul. And Rand was momentarily disoriented, but immediately cleared her head. Yet her spirit were being consumed little by little. This was very wrong. And Rand quickly took out a mental energy recovery potion and drank it, replenishing her lost spirit. Meanwhile, people within a 5-meter radius collapsed, some already unconscious. Even some talent users were tottering. Spiritual attack. This mutant beast can use spiritual attacks. Run! Someone shouted a warning, swiftly carrying their unconscious teammates to a safe distance. Seeing that the creature was about to shriek again, and Rand ignored everything else and swiftly circled behind the abnormal beast to use her skill. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Collection successful. Experience plus 50. You gain 2 points of spirit. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Collection successful. Experience plus 50. You gain 2 points of spirit. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Collection successful. Experience plus 50. You obtain a 3rd-level energy crystal core. Absorbing it can increase 2 points of spirit. After 3 consecutive successful collections, the last one even yielding a 3rd-level energy crystal core, the abnormal beast immediately slumped to the ground, its tentacles on its head drooping, no longer able to make any sound. And Rand took a deep breath, instantly absorbed the crystal core, and ran over to check on Sankey and the others. Chapter 18. Abyssal Giant Beast. And Rand squatted down and saw that Sankey, her brother, and sister-in-law Yu were bleeding from their nostrils and were unconscious. She quickly took out 3 primary mental strength recovery potions and poured one into each of them. She then checked the arteries in their necks. Fortunately, there was a faint pulse. But they wouldn't wake up anytime soon. They had to be sent back to the camp to be safe. So, Rand asked nearby teammates for help. Who can help send these 3 to the camp infirmary? I'll give 1,000 points. No one responded. Gritting her teeth, Rand had no choice but to raise the stakes. Hey, who can help send these 3 to the camp? I'll give a bottle of primary mental energy potion. As soon as she finished speaking, several people rushed over. Are you serious? Do you really have mental energy recovery potions? Ayn Rand nodded and pointed at the 3 on the ground. Send them first, then I'll give you the potion. Before she finished, someone had already rushed up, quickly scooped up a person, hoisted them onto their shoulder, and ran. Those who didn't get one looked annoyed and kept asking and ran as they followed her. Do you really have potions? I'll pay for them. My child was attacked earlier and is still unconscious. And Rand was puzzled. Isn't the exchange office selling them? Why ask me to buy? One person shook his head. The potions at the exchange office are all sold out. We really have no choice, little girl. Please be kind. I'll give 5,000 points. Just 1 primary bottle to save my child's life will do. Sorry, I only have 1 bottle left. I don't have any extra to sell to you. Her gaze swept over the few covetous people, and Rand ran towards the camp. The people asking for medicine were stunned and quickly gave chase, but they couldn't catch up. By the time they reached the infirmary, they saw that the little girl had already given a bottle of potion to the 3 teammates who carried the people. The few of them were unwilling, staring straight at Rand, and said fiercely, Why are you running? We wouldn't not give you points. And Rand interrupted them in a deep voice. I already said there are no more potions. Why are you following me? Do you want to rob me? Then she turned her head and shouted to the guards at the door. Someone wants to rob me. The two guards looked over in unison and sternly shouted, "Who let you in?" The few of them didn't speak, their eyes full of ill will, but due to the energy gun in the guards' hands, they could only leave dejectedly. And Rand saw them leave before entering the infirmary and finding Yu Gang and his wife. At this time, the 100-square-meter infirmary was packed with seriously injured people. They lay on the ground, covered in blood, occasionally letting out painful wails. But there were only 6 medical staff, who couldn't possibly attend to everyone. And Rand rubbed her nose. Her nasal cavity was filled with the smell of blood. This was a bit ominous. It was known that outside were all mutant beasts, and various kinds of mutated insects, crawling on the ground and flying in the sky. If they smelled the blood and swarmed here, these injured people would definitely suffer. "Brother Yu Gang, why don't you all go back to your residence? Sister-in-law Yu's arm is already bandaged, and staying here is more dangerous." And Rand then pointed to the infirmary entrance. "Big Brother Song, and the others are also unconscious. Please help send them back." Yu Gang was surprised. "Boss Song is unconscious? How did that happen?" "An abnormal beast appeared outside. Saki and the others were attacked spiritually. I've already given them medicine. Now we just wait for them to wake up on their own." And Rand quickly explained, saying, "The smell of blood here is too strong and very unsafe. It's better to send them back." "I understand." Yu Gang quickly stood up, helped his wife up, and walked out. Afterward, Rand and Yu Gang carried the 3 unconscious people back to the 2nd floor. Sister-in-law Yu could walk on her own and followed along. No sooner had they settled the few people than a guard came to check, urging, "The injured can stay in the camp. Everyone else, get out." Yu Gang was helpless. He told his wife to take good care of Boss Song's family and went downstairs with his machete. And Rand didn't rush out of the camp but ran back to the 4th floor. Upon entering the room, she unloaded her large backpack and took out 23 primary mental strength recovery potions, as well as some hemostatic medicine and antidotes. She stuffed all these potions into a waste bag and then fastened the waste bag close to her body. This was her most valuable possession. It absolutely couldn't be stolen. After thinking for a moment, she took out 2 more recovery potions and put them into her sleeves for easy access. As for insect repellent, she usually kept it in the pocket of her protective suit jacket, ready to use at any time. After tidying her protective suit, putting on her backpack and flamethrower, Rand walked towards the camp entrance with her machete. As soon as she stepped out of the camp, she saw chaos outside. Countless mutant beasts rushed into the crowd, savagely tearing and attacking. The human team's formation had been disrupted, and the scene had become a living hell. And Rand was shocked and was about to retreat when someone shoved her from behind. "Don't dawdle. Hurry and save people." The guard pointed his gun at her and sternly rebuked. "Don't even think about escaping or you might get shot," he said, glancing at the high wall of the camp. And Rand subconsciously looked up and saw many people squatting on the 20-meter-high wall. They were fully armed and shooting at the mutant beasts. And Rand swallowed, abandoned her thought of escaping, and rushed towards the nearest mutant beast with her machete. With a few quick slashes, a mutant beast fell to the ground. Before she could collect it, another mutant beast rushed over, and she had no choice but to continue swinging her machete. Suddenly, someone pulled her. She turned her head and saw a 1-horned mutant beast charging past, its long, sharp horn narrowly grazing her backpack. Fortunately, she was pulled, otherwise she would have become a meat skewer on the sharp horn. "Thank you." And Rand thanked the person who helped her, not daring to say more, and quickly raised her machete to kill the monster. With her 12 points of strength, 15 points of agility, and a sharp machete, dealing with a 1-horned beast was no pressure at all. After a few slashes, the 1-horned beast shrieked and fell to the ground. Next came an endless, fierce battle. The mutant beasts seemed endless, too many to count, rushing in groups into the crowd, making the scene extremely chaotic. Wails rose and fell, and the human team suffered heavy casualties. The injured who could walk covered their wounds and rushed towards the camp, while those who couldn't move were directly torn to shreds by the wild beasts. The smell of blood spread across the battlefield, further inciting the beasts' ferocity and bloodlust. And Rand's machete was chipped, and her arm was so sore she could barely lift it. They couldn't be killed, there was no end to them. Just as she was about to flee, she suddenly heard someone shout, "Oh my God, what is that?" "Godzilla beast." "It must be a level 5 beast. We're finished, we're doomed." Immediately after, there was even more intense gunfire and explosions. Bang, 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 da-da-da, boom, boom. Accompanied by a high-pitched beast roar, the sound was like an abyssal demon roaring, and Rand looked in the direction of the gunshots and saw several enormous mutant beasts slowly emerging from the darkness, each step shaking the ground. The giant beasts were 5 to 6 meters tall and 8 to 9 meters long, shrouded in black mist, exuding a terrifying aura. Even more terrifyingly, 2 thick, sharp horns grew from the foreheads of the 2 giant beasts, and rows of spines stood on their backs, identical to the giant beast that destroyed Camp 53. And Rand's heart sank. Mutant beasts of this level were no longer afraid of bullets. Their thick, spiny skin was a solid defensive armor. The mercenaries' thermal weapons had no effect on them at all. How could they fight this? Even an armored vehicle would probably be crushed by that thing's foot, right? Chapter 19, Obtaining the Level 3 Small Beast Pouch. As expected, the mercenary group's armored vehicles also began to retreat. Someone shouted through a loudspeaker, "All personnel, retreat to the camp first. All personnel, retreat to the camp first." Whoosh. Everyone turned around and ran toward the camp gate. And Rand was also swept along into the camp. She was so exhausted she nearly collapsed, but she sprinted back to building number 7. The camp was in total chaos at this moment. There was no one left to maintain order. As soon as she entered the room, and Rand pulled down her mask to drink water, tossed aside her backpack, and collapsed onto the bed to rest immediately. But she hadn't even been lying down for 2 minutes when the camp's loudspeaker started calling out again. "All personnel, take heed. Come out and face the enemy immediately. All personnel, take heed." And Rand didn't even want to move, but her mind was calculating rapidly. If the camp was breached, how should she escape? Which direction would be safer to go? However, the loudspeaker continued to blare. "As long as we defend the camp, reinforcements will arrive by dawn. Everyone, do not give up. Victory will ultimately belong to us." And Rand had no energy to complain. She closed her eyes to rest for a moment, only to hear someone pounding frantically on her door. "Open up! Everyone out to face the enemy! Violators will be shot!" She knew that if she didn't go out now, she might really get shot. A wise person knows when to submit. And Rand slung the flamethrower over her shoulder, grabbed her machete, and opened the door. This time, she didn't bring her backpack. She was traveling light. It was a matter of life and death. Carrying that thing would just be asking for trouble. As soon as she stepped out, she saw several mercenaries pounding on doors one by one. And Rand glanced at them, then looked away and quickly headed downstairs. The camp was in utter chaos, especially at the gate, where some mutant beast had already broken through. However, due to the narrow entrance, the number of mutant beasts getting in was limited, and they were quickly killed. And Rand's eyes lit up, and she immediately sprinted over. While a few people were swarming a mutated beast, she reached out and pressed her hand against its rear, activating her skill. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering skill successful. Experience plus 50. You obtained 1 point of constitution. Gathering skill successful. Experience plus 50. You obtained 1 level 2 mutated beast energy crystal core. As the energy crystal core was extracted, the mutated beast slumped to the ground with a thud. The few people surrounding it looked at each other in confusion. Huh. How did it die after just 1 slash? Was this mutated beast that weak? And Rand, who had already run far away, hid her merit and fame and approached another mutated beast. This mutated beast was 3 meters tall and looked very strange, somewhat like a kangaroo, but it was surrounded by black mist. Its fangs were long and sharp, and its front claws were razor sharp, looking like a demon from hell. It was incredibly fast. It caught up to someone, leaped into the air, kicked them flying instantly, and then clawed open another person's back. If that person hadn't been wearing a high-grade protective suit, their spine would likely have been severed. Even so, their back was drenched in blood, clearly having suffered a serious injury. For a moment, screams were constant, and Anran quickly retreated. At this moment, a talent user activated their supernatural ability, causing a black-green vine net to appear out of thin air and instantly bind the mutated kangaroo inside. The mutated kangaroo struggled frantically, and it looked like it was about to break free. "Hurry and kill it!" the talent user shouted, their face turning red. "I can only hold it for 10 seconds. When Anran heard this, her eyes lit up. She darted over and slapped the mutated kangaroo on its rear. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering skill successful. Experience plus 50. You obtain 2 points of agility. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering skill successful. Experience plus 50. You obtain 2 points of strength. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering skill successful. Experience plus 50. You obtained a level 3 small beast pouch, which can hold 1 cubic meter of items and ignores weight rules. Immediately, a palm-sized, fluffy black beast hide pouch appeared in Anran's hand. She didn't have time to look closely, as the mutated kangaroo let out a shrill shriek and instantly broke free from the vine net. It spun around with a whoosh, its pair of scarlet eyes filled with rage, locking onto Anran. Seeing that the situation was bad, Anran quickly moved away, grabbing her flamethrower and firing it directly at the mutated kangaroo. With a bang, the mutated kangaroo was set ablaze. Several talent users surrounded it again and quickly killed it. Anran let out a sigh of relief, quietly touching the small beast pouch in her jacket pocket and tucking it further inside. Was this small beast pouch really what she thought it was? She would find something to test it with once things calmed down. Just then, a booming crashing sound came from outside the camp gate, as if a giant beast was trying to get in. "Hurry, hurry! All talent users, get to the wall to support. Everyone else, go clear the entrance." Countless mutant beasts had already blocked the camp entrance, preventing the gate from closing. In fact, the camp had 2 gates. The first was a sluice gate that dropped from above, and the second was a pair of cast-iron doors that closed by pushing them from the inside out. They hadn't been closed before because there were still many survivors and vehicles outside that hadn't entered. By the time everyone had entered safely, those giant mutant beasts had also swarmed in, and the first gate was stuck by the beasts' bodies, unable to drop down. Of course, Anran wouldn't go to the wall. She was only 50 experience points away from leveling up, and she was looking for an opportunity to target the mutant beast. But the entrance was too chaotic. Dozens of people were swarming a single mutated beast, and she couldn't squeeze in at all. Or perhaps she was afraid of being accidentally hit by a talent user's supernatural ability. With no other choice, she had to run back to find the dead level 3 mutated kangaroo, because she still hadn't gotten its crystal core. On the way, she encountered 2 mutated beast corpses. Seeing no one around, Anran quickly crouched down to loot them. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering skill successful. Experience plus 20. You obtained a piece of level 2 mutated beast meat. Demonic contamination value 12. Consuming, it can increase satiety. Instantly, a large piece of bright red beast meat appeared under her palm, weighing at least 20 or 30 caddies. Anran was startled and quickly looked around. Seeing that no one was paying attention, she took out the beast-hide pouch. But how was she supposed to use this thing? Anran poked the opening of the pouch toward the large piece of beast meat, but nothing happened. Just as she was scratching her head, she suddenly heard a prompt in her mind. "Do you wish to consume Spirit, to store 1 piece of level 2 mutated beast meat. Yes, store it quickly. And Rand blurted it out almost instantly. In an instant, the large lump of beast meat on the ground disappeared, and her spirit dropped by 2 points at the same time. So storing items also consumed spirit, and it cost 2 points at once. She weighed the fluffy small beast pouch in her hand. It hadn't gained any weight. It truly was a good item. And Rand smiled, but when she saw that she only had 1 point of spirit left, she couldn't smile anymore. That was close. She had almost used it all up. She still remembered the prompt on the panel. If it was completely exhausted, she might faint. She quickly took out a bottle of primary recovery potion and drank it. She checked, her spirit only replenished by 5 points. What the hell? She didn't believe it and drank another bottle, but nothing happened. And Rand frowned. Was the primary potion useless to her now? At this moment, a prompt rang in her mind again. Potion usage is on cooldown. Damn, this has a cooldown time too. Wasted 3,000 points for nothing. Heartbreaking. Chapter 20, Skill Upgrade, new entry appears. My spirit are now at 6 points, and I don't know when the cooldown for that potion will end. Therefore, and Rand doesn't plan to gather from low-level mutant beasts. She looked around and finally saw the 3rd-level mutated pouch beast. She reached out and placed her hand on its head, activating her skill. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Gathering successful. Experience plus 20. You obtained a piece of high-quality level 3 mutated beast meat, with a demonic contamination value of 29. Eating it can permanently increase 1 point of strength, non-stackable. Wow. Another piece of fresh meat with a special entry. And Rand was beaming with joy, quickly hugging the meat to her chest. At this moment, a prompt sounded in her mind again. Beginner Gathering Technique LV1 experience is full. Do you wish to upgrade? Upgrade? Why would she save it? She needed to increase her attributes to improve her strength. In an instant, and Rand seemed to see fireworks blooming across her screen, and the Beginner Gathering skill transformed from LV1 to LV2. Immediately, 10 free attribute points appeared on her panel, and a new skill, Eye of Investigation, was derived in her skill bar. And Rand didn't even think, directly allocating them to increase her agility to 20. This would help her escape, and also allow her to quickly approach dangerous creatures to use her skills. The remaining 7 points were allocated to Constitution and Strength. With this, all her attributes reached 20. Name, and Rand. Age, 18. Race, human. Constitution, 20. Your Constitution has completed its first mutation, capable of resisting a small amount of demonic energy infiltration. Agility, 20. Your agility has surpassed most humans, nearly on par with a 2nd-level agility talent user. Strength, 20. Compared to strength-type talent users, you are still too weak. Spirit, 4/21. Immune to primary mental attacks. Skills. Beginner Gathering Technique, LV2, 2/5000. Skill Activation Range, increased to 50 centimeters. Skills, Eye of Investigation LV0, 0/1000. Can investigate the basic attributes of any target within 1 meter. Note: each use of Eye of Investigation consumes 1 point of spirit. And Rand was surprised when she clearly saw the new entry in her skill bar. With a skill activation range of 50 centimeters, does this mean she can successfully gather without touching the object? That would be fantastic. Many creatures in this world are highly poisonous and cannot be touched. If she could gather from a distance, wouldn't she be winning big? And this Eye of Investigation, once her spirit automatically replenish, she'll try it out to see what it can reveal. And Rand clenched her fist, enjoying the comfortable sensation brought by the increased attributes. Her previous fatigue had vanished, replaced by abundant energy and immense strength. Every movement was incredibly light, as if a slight push with her foot could send her soaring to the 2nd floor. The increase in agility was not only reflected in her movement speed, her vision and body coordination were also further enhanced. For example, now she could see the trajectories of countless flying insects. If she focused on one, the insect in her vision seemed to be in slow motion, and she felt she could easily catch it with her bare hands. However, this was not the time for experimentation. And Ran picked up the 40 Jin mutated pouch beast meat and hurried towards building number 7. It wasn't that she was showing off, it was just that with only 4 points of spirit left, she didn't want to waste them on storing items. When she returned to the camp entrance, she saw the number of mutant beasts rushing in gradually decreasing. People's attacks also slackened, and Ran seized the opportunity and rushed behind a 3rd-level mutated beast to activate her skill. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Gathering successful. Experience plus 50. You obtained 1 point of constitution. Upon hearing the broadcast, Ran was momentarily stunned. What's going on? Why did gathering from a 3rd-level mutated beast only give 1 attribute point? Didn't it used to be 2 points? Before she could think further, this mutant beast was quickly ganged up on and killed by numerous ability users. With a rumble, the camp gate finally fell. The thick cast iron door inside was also closed. Within minutes, all the mutant beasts in the courtyard were eliminated, and everyone collapsed on the spot, enjoying this brief moment of rest. And Ran also took the opportunity to select 2 3rd-level mutated beasts, dragged them to a secluded spot where few people ventured, and then activated her skill. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. Gathering successful. Experience plus 20. You obtained a piece of high-quality level 3 mutated beast meat with a demonic contamination index of 23. Eating it can increase satiety. Ding! 1 point of spirit consumed. You obtained a piece of high-quality level 3 mutated beast meat with a demonic contamination index of 28. Eating it can increase satiety. All low-value level 3 mutated beast meat. It seems that after her skill upgrade, the demonic contamination index of the items she gathers has also decreased. And Ran wasn't surprised, because the higher the skill level, the purer the items gathered. I'll sell these 2 pieces of meat now and exchange them for a few intermediate mental energy recovery potions to try. She only had 1 point of spirit left, and she didn't know how long it would take for it to recover automatically. And Ran carried the 2 pieces of meat in her hands and went directly to the exchange counter. The exchange window was deserted, with only a few people pleading with the staff. Please, give me a mental energy potion. My husband's ability is depleted, and he's dying, boo-hoo-hoo. Please. The staff member looked sympathetic, but helplessly said, I told you they're all sold out. Why don't you listen? Pleading with me is really useless. If you're really desperate, go check with the various ability user teams. Maybe they can spare a bottle. I've asked them all. They don't have any either, the woman sobbed, desperate and helpless. The staff member shook his head and said impatiently, Then staying here isn't going to help either. I can't just conjure a bottle for you out of thin air, can I? Looking up, he saw a young girl carrying 2 large pieces of meat enter, and the staff member immediately called out, Come, over here! And Ran walked over, placed the meat on the counter, and said expressionlessly, These 2 are both 3rd-tier mutant beasts, low-value ones. Give me a price first, and I'll see if it's suitable. Upon hearing this, the staff member's eyes lit up immediately. Okay, I'll test it now and then give you a quote. So Ran sat by the window, waiting, occasionally glancing at the crying woman. The woman had 2 young male companions with her, looking dejected, and all bearing injuries. And Ran suppressed her stirring conscience, saying nothing, just quietly waiting for the staff member's quote. She had been struggling in the wilderness for 8 years, seen all kinds of people and things. Conscience was nothing but nonsense. Even if she had many bottles of potions in her hand, she couldn't take them out now. Otherwise, tonight would be her death anniversary. The woman cried for a while, and seeing that no one was paying attention, she asked Ran, Little sister, Do you have any mental energy recovery potions? And Rand shook her head. No, I used them all up long ago. The woman looked desperate, then suddenly said, Then I want to buy some meat. Can you spare some for me? And Rand nodded. 120 per jinn. How many jinn do you want? What? 120 per jinn? Why don't you just rob us? The woman's companion complained. What time is it now? You're still inflating prices. Are you trying to profit from disaster? Another young man also grumbled. Little girl, you're not old. You should learn to be kind and not earn every penny.